When your avoidant ex reaches out after weeks or months of silence and asks to meet up, does that mean they want to get back together? Or is something else going on? Well, today I have a comment from a woman who experienced exactly that. And as I was reading her story, I found myself thinking the same thing most of you probably would, that this looked like the beginning of a reconciliation. But by the end of her story, it turned out to be something different. So I decided to make a video because I want you to know what to do if you find yourself in a similar situation. Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And if you're part of my no contact army, welcome back. Always happy to have you. Okay, so let's take a look. She starts with, what if your avoidant ex came back 6.5 months later? I answered the fourth text asking if we could meet up because he really wanted to talk to me. Okay, perfect. So she did what I tell people to do when they're in no contact. When you hear from your ex, you don't necessarily respond to the first text, especially if it's not significant. You see if they're going to escalate. And she did that, and he did escalate because she didn't respond to the first text or the second or the third. She waited until his effort became consistent enough that it suggested he genuinely wanted contact. Now, I'm not saying you should wait for exactly 4 texts. That's not the lesson. The lesson is that she didn't react to the very first breadcrumb. Okay. He also started to follow me on social media again. I took him off as a follower when we broke up. So now he's rebuilding access to her life. He's texting, he's following her again, he's asking to meet, and at this point, I think that most people would be feeling optimistic, right? So I agreed to lunch. Okay, that's fine. I think lunch was reasonable. He reached out after 6.5 months. He made multiple attempts to contact her, and now he wanted to talk. That's what we're all waiting for, right? Okay. At this point, she's just gathering information. He said he missed me. And by the way, before I continue, I want to let you know that I am available for private one-on-one coaching, and the link is underneath every single video and podcast. You can reach me at theartoflove.net, and we will send you the rates. They are not on the website. Okay, now let's slow down, because one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is believing that if an avoidant, or actually any ex, says they miss you, that automatically means they want their relationship back. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's not the same thing as wanting you back if they say, I miss you, because someone can miss you while still thinking that they do not want a relationship with you. So that's an important distinction, and you're going to see what happened later. Okay, so I asked why he didn't tell me before. He said, well, I'm telling you now. That's not an answer. That's more of a red flag. It's like, why won't you tell me the reason? It's like, I'm telling you now. Yeah, I know you're telling me now, but why are you telling me now and not before? Now, avoidants don't always process breakups immediately. So some suppress their feelings, some distract themselves, some don't fully experience the loss until months later. So I'm not assuming that he's being dishonest here, but I still don't love the response because, as I said, he's actually avoiding the question. He's not giving a real answer. He missed our talks. He said he was sorry for everything, and it's been hard on him as well. So again, encouraging signs. He's apologizing. He's acknowledging that the breakup affected him too. He's taking at least some responsibility, but notice something. He still has not actually said he wants to get back together. Okay. He said he wasn't in a good place when he broke up with me, and it all got to be too much because he couldn't meet my needs. And this may be the most important sentence in the entire comment. Notice what he's saying. He's not saying that he stopped loving her. He's saying he became overwhelmed. So many avoidants don't leave because they stopped caring. They leave because the relationship starts feeling like something that they cannot successfully maintain. And whether that's actually objectively true is not the point. That's how it often feels to them. Continuing, he said, but nothing turned out as I thought. He said I was so valuable to him and he wanted to have me in his life. So he had that realization because she stayed in no contact. And if you need help staying in no contact, be sure to download my app Silencio, and the link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. It will help you to stay in no contact. And if you still like to read, as some of us do, be sure to check out my book, No Contact Secrets, at nocontactsecrets.com. And again, the link is underneath every video and podcast. So now put yourself in her shoes. He's apologized. He says he missed her. He says she's valuable and he wants her in his life. So if you're watching or listening to this, what are you thinking? Well, most people would assume he wants to get back together, right? And this is where I think she made a mistake. She continues, we walked around town. He carried my grocery bags. He cooked me dinner. Now, this is where she should have slowed things down, because lunch turned into walking around town turned into grocery shopping turned into him carrying bags, and then he cooked her dinner. So without realizing it, they were spending the entire day together. And here's why I think that's important, because the longer this continued, the more emotionally invested she became before she knew why he had come back. Personally, I would have wanted more clarity before investing an entire day. And in fact, I made a whole video about this titled, Never Give This to Your Ex. And this is a lot of time when you first get in contact, when you first hang out, when you first meet. And I'll put the link to that in the upper right-hand corner on YouTube. And I know it's easy to get pulled in because you've been suffering in no contact. You've been going through hell. And here's your dopamine hit right in front of you. You don't want to let it go. Well, you're going to see why you cannot give your ex that much time the first time you meet. From this video and also from this other one that I mentioned, if you go to it. Okay. He then wanted to watch the sunset together. Now, this is where she should have said no. Not because there's anything wrong with watching a sunset. There's something actually very right about watching a sunset. But now it's beginning to look like a date. So when your ex starts extending the interaction, lunch becomes dinner. Dinner becomes a sunset. Now the emotional momentum is building, but she still does not know what his intentions are. And a simple question here could have changed everything. So when they met for lunch, she needed to say, so why did you want to meet up with me today? That should have been asked before agreeing to spend the day and the evening together. And so she finally asks, what does this all mean? And as I said, I wish she'd asked hours earlier, because by the time she asked, she'd already spent the entire day believing that this might be the beginning of getting back together. He said he didn't know. And that's not unusual, because sometimes avoidants don't have complete clarity. Sometimes they're testing their own feelings. Sometimes they're hoping the interaction itself is going to give them answers. He then said he just wanted me in his life. Now, this is the sentence that changed everything. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, I want us back, or I made a mistake, or I want another chance. He didn't say anything like that. He said, I want you in my life. Now, those sound similar, but they're not. He then added, but only as friends. And there's the twist. Now, the entire day suddenly makes sense. He missed her. He valued her. He didn't want to lose her completely, but that doesn't necessarily mean he wanted a romantic relationship. And this is something that people misunderstand all the time. Missing someone is not the same thing as being willing to build a relationship with them. Those are two very different things. I told him I couldn't do that. Well, thank God. That was her strongest moment. She didn't argue. She didn't negotiate. She didn't accept friendship hoping that it would become romance. She knew that friendship wasn't what she wanted. So she said, I came home, cried, and removed him from my social media again. Well, yeah, of course she cried because she spent the entire day believing that this was leading somewhere and anyone would be disappointed, but I think she handled it remarkably well. She protected herself instead of accepting crumbs just to keep it in her life. So, what can we learn from this? First of all, if your avoidant ex says they miss you, do not automatically assume they want the relationship back. They actually need to say it. So do not get too excited when you hear that sentence. Second, don't confuse romantic behavior with romantic intentions. So carrying your groceries, cooking dinner, watching the sunset, they all feel romantic, but none of those behaviors answered the only question that mattered. And finally, don't be afraid to ask why they're back. What do you want? If your ex reaches out after months of silence, it's perfectly reasonable to ask, why did you want to meet with me today? And that one question can save you from investing your heart in a story that isn't going where you think it is. Okay? So now I want to hear from you. Do you have any questions or comments about anything I've said in this video? And if you want help understanding what your avoidant ex is really doing, make sure you subscribe because I discuss no contact, avoidance, and what actually brings an ex back, avoidant or not, on this channel. And in the meantime, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.